escaped from Blue Lake to here back, and I run a lot in the alley.
Eva Jansen, retired nurse midwife, and I've lived here for 45 years, and I also pretty much walk every single day, because I also have a dog that needs to be walked, but I also walk with a small group once a week, and anyway.
My name is Bruce Hand, and I'm just interested in Eureka citizen. I'd like to see less cars around in this area.
I'm Nancy Arroyo. I'm a fairly new resident of Humboldt County. Moved here in 21, and I walk sometimes with Deborah Dukes, and I have a dog, and I like the idea of more walking and more biking instead of driving. Retired.
I'm Morgan Cook, and I'm also an interested resident.
I'm Althea Christensen. I'm on the Transportation Commission for the City of Eureka. A bit of a transit and walkability gadfly. And you may notice my custom purse, which I had my mother-in-law make so that I wouldn't get hit by a car crossing 4th and 5th Street.
Colin Fisk, I'm the Executive Director of CRTP, the Coalition for Responsible Transportation Priorities, and advocate for walking, biking, and transit.
Renee Contreras-Deloge, I'm on the Eureka City Council, and this is my work.
Mario Fernandez, I'm also on Eureka City Council. I have a person center and the other spots.
Natalie Arroyo, this is also my district, but for the County Board of Supervisors, and that's my mom, Nancy. Yeah. Somebody already asked if we were related. Nancy stuff.
Midge Catching. I live in this area, and I walk a lot in this area, and I'm an interested citizen of what's going on.
Hey guys, I'm Jacqueline. I'm a public affairs specialist for Six Rivers National Forest. I'm mainly here for my own interests and, being able to walk my dogs around here. This is Appa. So, yeah, nice to meet you all.
Continue around.
That's,
Good.
Hi, I'm Kim, and I get up late on Sundays, but I'm glad to be here.
I'm Chuck Goodwin, Eureka taxpayer.
Jerome Curiosity, planner with Humboldt Transit Authority, and resident of Eureka and Myrtle Township.
My name is Gabe Ostro. I'm a health educator with Humboldt County Public Health.
My name is Andy Dia. I'm the coordinator of Kind Credit disabilities, and knowledgeable of projects going on.
Good. I give everybody permission to use your outdoor voice.
I'm Susan Van. I live in Eureka. I walk here, and there's been some good things and some bad things, so glad you're here.
Chris Vasquez. I'm a Eureka citizen. I walk daily, miles, and I bike a few times a week, and I'm interested in more of that.
I'm Lori Brannigan. I live just like 1 block from here. As a younger-ish woman who usually walks alone several miles a day every day, I might have a slightly different perspective on things from the rest of y'all, but I'm interested in if anyone else has to say anything.
I'm Matt Soha. I work for Caltrans Traffic Safety. My career, I've been in a lot of other states, and I've seen how transportation is set up for bikes and pedestrians. Usually it's not. It's really bad. California is so much better. Really glad to be part of this, and I'll take any expertise and any input, try to incorporate it into my thinking.
Yeah, let's wind down a little more and hear from the folks that we haven't heard from. Yep,
I'm Laura Norton. I'm here as a committee member. Interested in having a more walkable, bikeable, and more accessible land.
Thank you for being here, and I think you'll have much to share with us, to teach us. Yeah.
Daniel Zellman, resident, interested in community, and I think more walking means more community.
Mike Harris, retired postal worker, 30-year resident of Eureka, and I've been riding a bicycle the whole time. murky opinion from that.
Hi, I'm Bruce Sylvie, and I'm with Humboldt Trails Council, and we're really glad to be starting right here because we have a really unique problem with the upcoming Great Redwood Trail that starts exactly right here.
I'm Gail Sylvie Pellis, and I'm supportive. Okay.
Karen Underwood, also with the Humboldt Trails Council, and we're the group that's involved with volunteer trail stewards. So this whole trail, waterfront trail, is cleaned by our volunteers.
I'm Perry Carey. I'm a retired teacher.
Sorry.
And I bus home to Old Town quite often, taking side streets. I don't really like the Broadway thing that's going on right now myself, but I find the side streets a lot more easy to bicycle on than Broadway. And I used to walk the bicycle and walk on it. So that's why I'm here to just see what kind of ideas are explored.
Thank you. And are you going to be on the Broadway walk as well?
I haven't heard about that.
Oh. We need an announcement. Una, do you want to share, or who? Una just.
Let's finish introducing
Alexis.
and make. Oh.
Yeah.
At 1:30? No, 2:30 today.
2 o'clock.
2:30.
It's on the flyer.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay.
Good job. We were just testing you to make sure you read the flyer.
Peter Pennekamp, lived here a long time, and after years of basic sort of depression about lack of intentionality in my town of Eureka, I'm suddenly excited. It's like people are working together, thinking together, there's vision. Very excited about the Great Redwood Trail, but everything about it, it's like it feels like a new era. So for everyone working on it, thank you.
Would you introduce yourself?
My name is Philip Beaudry. I grew up in the edges of Napa City, and growing up in that suburbia environment, big sidewalks, but no way to get anywhere for a kid, I remember an overwhelming sense of isolation and aloneness. I don't want that for my children. I don't want them to have to pay $7,000 to $10,000 a year for a vehicle to be a participating member of society. I want to live in a place that I would travel overseas to go and visit.
Nice.
My name is Lisa Hockaday, soon to be known as Lisa Bubblewitz, because we just got married. So I'm trying to put that out there. I work at Caltrans. For our area, it's called District 1, and I'm the District 1 Bicycle and Pedestrian Coordinator. In that role, we're developing data collection. Design really is what we're doing, so that we can have the same quality information about designing facilities for bikes and pedestrians that we do for cars. And like you were saying, there's a focus is changing. People are listening to the news guys and pedestrians. So others are listening to it.
Mark Mueller, I bike a lot. My favorite thing is holding, it's like bike related, holding hands with Lisa while riding bikes on 101. So that's right. The goal is to make that like more possible for anybody and not have to be. Who's on the inside?
Can we get everybody?
Participants in the back here. Just shut up.
My name's Derek Glavich, community member, and my wife and family really like walking around town, and we're really excited to learn.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Hey,
Dan?
Yeah.
We're
in the waiting period, so proposals for these lots are due August 8th, and then there'll be a selection if we receive proposals. There'll be a selection committee, and then it'll go to city council to, I don't know, we'll see. We have no idea.
Right?
It's part of the housing
Okay,
element, though.
we'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is part of it.
Good turnout, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Do all your events attract this many people?
I would think so, yeah. This community's pretty involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody just pointed out that trash can's right in the middle of the sidewalk. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, let's make this our first stopping point.
Good. Underutilized huge area.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no parking down here.
Come on in, folks. Come clear around. Come clear around.
Flowers.
So each time we stop, I like to talk about the things that are really working and aren't, but then learn from you. So I just heard that your continuation of the Redwood Trail now will go down the street, correct?
So the right of way is down this street, on First Street, and it's been rail banked from Willits all the way through Arcata and around to Samoa. So they have an obligation to the federal people to make a trail down the right of way and protect the right of way in case it ever is used for rail transportation or something else in the future. So Eureka's done a great job here, and then they didn't want to lose the parking down this side.
Can everybody hear?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So there's a block, there's an empty space here from C to H, where the track unfortunately went down the middle of the street. And so it hasn't really been formed. There's a nice pedestrian and scenic route along there, but it has to zigzag around. But the Great Redwood Trail, which is being built now, a mandate from the state of California, from all the way from Arcata all the way to San Francisco Bay.
The usability of the rails, because these lines get used by a historic rail.
Do these lines get used?
Like by speeder cars.
Yeah.
It's not here. It's not here.
Timber heritage.
No, from Samoa Bridge to out over the.
And here, and they also.
No, they do.
Yeah, they do come down. It's like on an event by.
It's historical interest, not transportation.
Okay. And again, I've just got dropped in from out of the sky,
Right.
so you guys know far more than I do. But I do want to share possible ideas that you can then filter through and apply.
For that project you just mentioned, the linear park, what's the speed limit on the outside of that?
It's a downtown, so the average speed of motors is only 10 miles an hour.
Good luck here.
No, when you make a place, the behavior of people in cars changes.
Yeah, streets are
First thing
narrower,
is
you
they
slow
want
down
to
naturally.
find a way to park and then go into fun.
If your vehicle or your person's at risk, you will slow down naturally. You do not need a sign.
Another reason I wanted to stop here is to talk about the buffers that you want from the walkway to wherever your parking is. It should be, it could be almost any width. It could be as little as 2 feet. Sometimes it's 8 or even 10 feet without having to sacrifice parking. But it's green. It creates that sense of place. And right now, what we see is it's just start. It's you know, you got the end of a walking space, but then no edge. Edges are very important in everything we do. Okay.
How do you define the edge then? What are you saying? More greenery out here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In some cases, you even have a curb. Anyone's been to Waikiki? I
guess it's
Calico, I think, is the street. It's just a marvel to walk up and down that street. They've got water flowing. They've got all kinds of cool things. But they really put their heart and soul into their edges, right? It's a good place to walk, but then the edges power it up.
The bay.
You got the bay.
That's our edge.
Well, you need an edge for your bay, but you need an edge for walkways. That's all I'm saying.
Between the walkway and the parking, so people don't like park on the sidewalk is kind of.
And for many reasons, you just feel a certain sense of joy if there's a real edge.
It's beautiful.
It looks nice.
I will present that tomorrow night, and you will understand that edges are important.
Okay, I never associated the word joy with edge before.
I mean, you know, if you think about like a house that has like a row of flowers,
yeah,
you know, neighboring the sidewalk, I mean, that looks better than this.
It's not the same though.
I know if you were at Disneyland,
Something you're proud of.
Put
an edge?
You know, it's like
an edge that you're proud of.
For sure.
Okay, can we continue? But they just made it into a gorgeous linear park. And we can look at, if you could keep parking on both sides, I don't know, we'll measure it. Josh, can you get a measurement from car to car what the amount of space we have is? And if you could do that, it would be the most amazing gateway along your waterfront. And I'll make sure that Monday evening when we do the big presentation in your wonderful theater, that I include that winter garden treatment. Now theirs is wider because they had more width to play with, but their downtown was totally dead before we made that trail. Now it's one of the most sought after places to open a retail shop anywhere. So it's really worth looking at how things combine to make everything a success. It's a very popular trail, and it's accessible, and it's just a joy. People are so proud of it. But you may have that opportunity, and it may require a slightly different treatment of the street, but I would put that as a high consideration. People love being in the middle of a physical space so that they can look and enjoy and so on. It requires a little special treatment at the intersections, but we can handle that. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Too much money.
Our city council members, they put in these new middle plates to the water. And right now they're
Where's this at?
you could probably ride on my shoulders if you want.
Okay. I mean, do you have a limit on my numbers? Because right now I've got a 4-digit number in the thousands. Okay, you want a small number?
Yeah.
1 digit, 2 digits? How many? Up to 100. Okay. Okay. So at 10? Yeah, what I would
He's the one that let us know. You did all of this in your life.
Yeah, what I would do would be okay. That's why I didn't want to. Okay.
You're an area like this. That guy never said out loud that distance. Everybody's curious.
When you walk along a sidewalk that's got nice green, you feel buffered from the open gravel and so on, you just feel different than you do when you're just walking along a gravel space, right? And again, on Monday night's presentation, I'll explain the 5 things that make a town come alive. But edges are one, and they're very important to make sure we address.
To me, it's like grass versus non-grass.
Hey Dan, can
Yes.
I ask a question?
Please.
There's one thing I've always wondered about Old Town, as long as I've been in Eureka, has been these, I would say horse hitching posts that
Yes.
we have all over town. And they're, you know, it's a charming throwback to when we hitched a lot of horses, but I don't see a lot of horses hitched to them. And so I was wondering, maybe putting city staff on the spot, are we maintaining the horse hitching posts, and could some of them be potentially replaced with bike racks? I'm curious about some thoughts around that.
In fact, where we ate at the bagel place, the horse hitching post had the bike rack component added to it.
Oh, really?
Sometimes that works, and if you have a certain kind of lock, you can use them, but they're not the best for a bike.
I know. There's so many different things we can do for bike parking.
Yeah.
A waiting opportunity, again, right in front of the bagel shop would be a bicycle corral. So many people were wanting to come down by bike, but they didn't feel that that added security was there. But bike corrals, and I'll make sure I definitely show some really good treatments for bike corrals. But having them at the corners is really important because it opens up the sight lines, so that the intersection becomes safer.
Very
So tell all your friends. How are you?
Yeah, we have a lot of that. Like there's places where we got another one around the city.
Yeah, it might be fine if you're on three wheelchair or if you have two people coming different directions.
This one's got where it's blocking the flat part.
Yeah.
Or right after a curb cut too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's like the flat part of the sidewalk after the curb cut.
I got that on video too. I got the garbage can in the middle of the walkway too, back there when we started. I was like, why is this here? This could be right over here.
It's so easy. It's an easy fix.
And then you're
Would this be considered the main
Oh, okay.
The one that we were at, there's the other end of it, but this is much more easier.
This is where you have to come back out if you're taking the
Okay. Come on in, folks. Want to make sure everybody can hear.
There's more room over here too behind Dad.
So, this is the main entry to the gateway, as I understand it. See how it works visually? I mean, it really does have points of attraction to guide you down. The trees form edges. And the edges, imagine this space if you didn't have a tree. That's the value of a good edge. And you've also got a good terminal point of a view shed. All towns should have very prominent view sheds. Some have just dozens of them, where others have just one, but it's done so well that people come back to that town because of what they felt when they came to that place. So this is all about placemaking. It's more than just walking. It's our pride, our sense of community can be related. I come from a waterfront town, Port Townsend, Washington, and we have amazing view sheds, but we also have hills so we can look down on our waterfront. You don't have that opportunity, but I'm be glad that you don't. It takes a lot of energy to get up and down those hills. But I love the invitation of all the benches for sitting. And in this day and age, with a lot of people who are homeless and so on, that's an important thing to still retain and keep and be proud of. Charleston, South Carolina has probably my favorite waterfront anywhere in the country. And one of the things they did, they built a pier out and they put in swings. And the mayor himself said to me, those swings have been in place for 10 years and I yet haven't been able to swing in them because they're so popular. So think about that. Think think what would make your waterfront unique. And people do love to swing. And but other activities. They, on that same wharf, they also have picnic tables and barbecues. Yeah, I want to make sure we cover the territory you want.
Yeah, no,
and yeah.
We're right on. Almost. Yeah, it's almost on schedule.
Okay. I'll pick up the pages over there. Usually we should stop and talk more at the very beginning of that.
Okay. Yeah. This area we've gotten feedback. You can kind of see the transition in the concrete. This sidewalk's fairly recent. And street trees are popular with some folks, and they're less popular with others because they constrict the width of the walkway. Okay. And then also on this side, you can see the end of the boardwalk there, where it's kind of lifted out back at this point.
Okay. And is that a tree lighthouse on the other side? The building on the other side?
No.
Over here in the marina?
No, it's not a tree lighthouse, but it's part of the wharf. Yeah, so that's the other, that whole island is the island.
So we would maintain the right here?
Right. So do you guys own the land?
Do not. It's actually owned by, a portion of it is that lot you kind of see where it's mowed. That's a different section here. And then this is owned by Union Pacific, the railroad.
Oh, really? And they don't want to sell?
They're challenging to.
Oh, okay.
They've done a cleanup on a large portion of it.
Yeah, but right now it can't house residences on there.
Until it gets a real cleanup.
Yeah.
It can't house residences at all, or only a ground floor?
No, I think it's at all right now.
At all.
Another transition point is right up here.
Is it an unclosed?
So we want a hotel though, so I think it could be a hotel and still be in line with the covenant.
Okay, I was like, I think it's just me that didn't know the route, so now I'm like, okay, I'm trying to be the keeper of it.
Good job. Appreciate it. Thank you.
It looks like there was a realty sign on this building.
Oh. Well, they better get into business right away. We're not letting them continue.
Yeah.
Just watch it like a hawk.
Come around, folks.
The city wants to buy it, but they're not going to buy it for $4,000. And we only have all the street traffic is now in
Street traffic is the problem. That's a huge problem. They can't even put in a street light that
Okay, come in where you can hear folks.
traffic is not
your perception is
Can everybody hear?
entirely different than mine.
I do it all the time.
This is a new street.
Me too. Yeah. East of the high
One
school.
thing I recommend to communities
And I
is to set your
hate to
default
cross.
lane width.
it's going to be a lot worse.
That's got to be an 8-footer at least.
So one thing I always encourage communities to do. Keep this.
You know, this is what we want. And the pedestrian island.
Yes.
You're going to
So,
take 3 lanes of traffic.
I can look at a single street, but I especially love looking at your brand new streets, which is you've got the bike lane, that's excellent. You've got the bike lane serving as a buffer to the sidewalk, so the pedestrians better served. But I feel your travel lane is built to an old standard. It's 12 feet wide. We know that 12-foot wide lanes are the correct dimensions for a freeway, where you want people to go 60 miles an hour. If you want people to go 20 miles an hour along your waterfront, then you don't want 12-foot lanes. But there's an easy answer. You don't have to rebuild anything. You basically put in a buffer. So in this case, a 2-foot buffer further protects the bike lane. It's safer for the motors because they're farther away from fixed objects and so on. It's just a win-win-win. But 10-foot lanes typically will bring down motor speeds anywhere from 2 to 7 miles an hour. And again, it's free. All you're doing is using paint, right? And so I would recommend that just as a general application to try to get those lanes that aren't meant to reduce speed down to 10 feet. As a starting point, you'll always have reason to go up. Yes, sir.
I grew up in Minneapolis, and around all of the lakes we had bikeways and walkways, and one of the buffers we used was parking lot concrete, little concrete things that would go in the road to protect the bicyclists from the cars, and also the bicycles. Then the pedestrians were up here, the bicycles were there, and the road out there with that buffer there. But it is construction. It is
right. That would be the next step up. I don't think you need that on a road like this, but you do need the buffer just to bring down the lane width, right? Paint.
Solid paint or just line?
White.
White solid?
Well, tell me the material you're using here for your edge lane. That's more than paint. Thermoplastic? It could be thermoplastic, and that would wear well. It really would. And truly, when you do a change like that, if you did it to this corridor, measure your speeds ahead of time, do the treatment, and then measure your speeds to see if it's a worthwhile investment. Yeah.
Exactly, but we have murals going in town. How does that affect the pedestrian world?
Murals?
Yes, they're putting in lots of murals.
Towns that have murals, people have more reasons to stop, park, and come in and shop. Let me talk about one other thing I'm seeing. You're using very standard box spaces for the trees, 4x4. It gives the right aeration to the plants and a way to water them. But there's a better design, and that would be rectangular. So you're eating less of the sidewalk, right? Now let's talk about the three parts of the sidewalk. So no one wants to walk right next to a wall or a fence or anything like that. So the physical space that is not used is often about 2 feet. So that's not part of your sidewalk. That's called the shy zone. And then where you put all your plant materials, signs, everything else, it should be a straight path. I measure from the back of the curb. So there's 4 feet of lawn. And if you use rectangular pans, you'd have more space. So what that leaves is a 4-foot sidewalk. And I noticed while we were all walking up here, we would learn to go single file many places. So you want minimum of 5 foot for your sidewalks. This is a commercial area. You've already built the sidewalk. But the next project, use rectangular pans, and you won't eat up as much.
When you say rectangular, longer that way and narrower this way?
Longer this way. Therefore, you're not eating into the sidewalk.
Right, so this would be another foot or so
you get
longer.
the same amount of variation.
I get it.
Yep.
And how do you feel about tree wells, or tree well grates?
With the grates around the road?
Yeah, where it goes on top of the walk on top of it.
Oh, yeah, there are a number of ways where the pedestrian could still walk across material that looks like cork. It's a different material, but it's truly navigable. You can walk over it easily. Wheelchairs can go over.
So that would be a way to take the curve.
Yeah, you could use material like that. Well, if you did the winter park winter garden treatment, you would green up that area. The ideal for any tree is to have a triple canopy.
Mm-hmm.
So you want the trees on each side and then in the middle. When you can get, you can't always do that, but again, if the idea of the parkway, the trail, comes down the center, then you got opportunity to plant green trees and planters. Yeah.
Thank you.
Important. I think we're now going to walk up the wide street. Yeah. As often as you can get at the end of a view shed is something magical that no other town has, right? When you go to Disney World, Disneyland, what Disney's architect was able to lay out is as you go down any street, like their main street, what do you see?
The castle.
The castle.
Yeah.
That's, Walt Disney called it eye candy. The point is, his architect figured out what's going to draw people into frontier land, Tomorrowland, whatever land. And at the end of every pathway, there would be a dynamite view. And you have that opportunity. You've got the great buildings, the waterfront itself is magical, but then you got this, right? I don't know the history of the road, why it got built that way, why it was that wide, don't know. That was done a long time ago. But the point is that if you want people to connect into your downtown at whichever street, you want that to be attractive. And so make sure that's part of your plan. I suspect it is, but it's a very important component of the plan. What's going to be that wonderful treat that a person perceives as they go up or down the street? And the towns you're most in love with, they do a really great job with that. They didn't always. They had to resurrect themselves. London, for example, was horribly turned over to the automobile. They're coming back. It's now a great place for transit, for walking and bicycling. But so many towns lost that sense of placemaking and that quality of being able to go places and not wonder why it's not feeling good to them. Yes, sir.
So are you saying that this isn't attractive and it could maybe be improved?
And it's not very, it's,
What was the question?
Did I say that it wasn't
That this is not attractive and maybe it could be improved?
So I can clarify that this use as
Yeah, it's
tow
good.
yard would no longer be allowed. So this is a legal non-conforming use. So if this business shut down and left, we wouldn't allow, like for more than 6 months, we wouldn't allow it to come back in.
Yeah.
I think
and then can I say something about that?
So what was your view opinion of F Street, just down the street? How
Sorry,
did you
yeah,
find that attractive or not attractive? 2 blocks down.
I'm on the
2 blocks down.
traffic safety commission and we talked about
Right, we
this,
have
you
a-
know,
Okay,
and so I know it's
Yeah, where we had, yeah. Well, first of all, it had a good linear edge, right?
and when you speak to edges,
Yeah.
when you talk about edges, is the purpose of an edge to make it more pedestrian scaled? And that means it's inviting for the pedestrian?
That's a good definition, but I want to say that the edge is as important as the path. A sidewalk is a path. A street is a path. A railroad is a path. A water course is a path. Those areas we actually move on. But we feel great satisfaction or comfort when there are true edges to the areas we're walking, right? And a feeling of enclosure, and that's one of the key words that we like to use for a successful street.
You had a
So-
comment about this road?
Yeah, so I can speak as to why this is wide. One is it's wide down there, and if you just draw the lines, then it projects here. But the other thing is this is a towing company, and they tow like semi trucks and things around. And we had a deal where we're trying to change things around here, probably related to putting this road in here. This is new, and they were on fire about not ruining their turning curve. They got to be able to haul big stuff in and out of this and get around the corner and stuff. And so that's why I think it's still this big, wide open,
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But
So we'd have to figure that out. Like, how do we accommodate that or help them move somewhere else or something,
Right.
to make it work?
Well, that and professional transportation engineers have all the tools in the world to figure out what's the right turning radii, right, in or out of a space. This is way overdone.
Well, unless you're hauling semis in with a tow truck, then it's
even then,
just
it's way overdone. So you take that as your template, and you say you can have up to this much space, but no more.
Yeah.
This street in this width runs more than 30 blocks this way.
But
So it's just not a 1 or 2 block thing.
It's being narrowed and traffic calmed. Is it going to come all the way down here?
It looks like the towing
H&I
company
Street,
move
will they be narrowed all the way down?
That's under consideration because, like you mentioned, this, and a little bit more historic perspective is, this is all brand new through here that wasn't here. You were not able to drive through here, a few years ago, right? This is all new. So this used to be, like the main connection, I think, off of Waterfront going up in that direction. It still probably didn't justify the amount of traffic that, 2 one-way lanes, aren't really justified here. So it's certainly something that we're considering. Especially when we get up to the development up there at the parking lots there, where we're talking about having a bus stop on one side, 1 lane, and then having a bike facility on the other, and that would hopefully connect. The intent is to have that connect out here.
And then 3 one-way lanes through residential areas. Thank you very much.
It's a bummer because one of them used to be the streetcar.
Right. But
Yeah.
now it's 3 lanes going one way. And
Well, that's added context about why it's so wide too. The streetcar used to go down here. Yeah.
That's originally why it was that wide.
There. Okay. The light bulb just went off. I'm like, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, this used to be H, I, and actually I think F. All used to
Maybe if we gave them some incentive to move. Brainerd?
People tried to
Some
locate
sort of like
across from
gout-like
in-house,
inflammation of my
like
foot
on
versus
Vigo on the north side of it, and who
finally get
has
back.
Did you find the right way to do it?
I mean, it's so we didn't really want it, but really fought tooth and nail to like, no, you can't go there.
What about Brainerd?
And then I've also worked
We're talking about this.
Towing.
Well, it's not loud.
Yeah.
Here, we want to be placemaking, having a big
Well, yeah, I get it. I'm just trying to. So, TSA. The liability
Yeah.
This is the year to go down later. I think I'm gonna go. Yeah,
Well, look how strong the edge is here, and including your historic markers.
In your experience, have you seen
What? Oh yes, many years. Tucson does a really good job with their instruments.
Yeah. No worries.
I've been to Arizona.
Okay.
Water is an issue.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. Come on in, folks. So this is an example of a street that's overly wide. I believe Josh measured this at 54 feet. Is that right, Josh? 54 feet?
It's actually it's about 50 feet.
50 feet. And it's a one way. So you really, for the motorist needs,
it's huge.
For the motorist needs,
on both sides. It's really one way, yeah.
do all people obey the one-way sign?
There's a lot of confusion about one-way streets.
As you can see.
Wrong way, Jim. It's all right. Turn left. You'll be fine.
Don't remember that for a while. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So the traffic needs, the volume of cars, which typically can only enter one car at a time anyway, really only needs a single lane, which might be as little as 14 feet. And if it isn't done throughout, if there's another use you want to put in, like diagonal parking on both sides, which you have plenty of room for, then here you only need space for one vehicle lane, which means this crossing could be very friendly. And again, we overbuilt so many things, and no one alive today is responsible. But this generation is responsible for correcting the sins and omissions of the past. And that's what I really hope to convey during the Monday evening presentation. And but you've done so many things well. It's like if you have a beautiful model, male or female, and then you put a big blotch on their face, you destroyed a thing of beauty, right? And the same thing with your beautiful town, that you want to figure out what are the 10 ugliest things in town, and now how do we get rid of them? Put that in as part of your budget, right? But especially downtown, and especially your waterfront, that you really want to achieve that. Beauty, everywhere you can. I don't know if you have a law currently that bans the concertina wire, but I shouldn't feel when I'm walking through your town that it's an unsafe place. And maybe there's a reason why that's still here, and maybe why you don't have a code not permitting it in certain districts or wards, right? But it catches my eye as an outsider that you really might not be the safest place.
Over here. Oh, good. Question over here.
Question.
Earlier you mentioned the positive effect of that building down at the end of the street here. What would be your opinion of having an aggressive, ongoing program of pruning these trees to open up that viewpoint?
I think it would be marvelous.
You can't see the eye candy.
No, you can't. I bicycled through your town in 1973, and I know back then only men were allowed to go in. We had 2 women with them. They couldn't get in. I hope that's
Yes. Yes.
I guess go on the other side, Daniel. The private club turned that into from like a decaying, crusty, old, scary ghost house looking thing to what it is now, you know. And so, yeah. I mean, not that I'm like defending that we need men-only private clubs, but they did something good, you know.
But it's not men only.
No, not
anymore.
Go ahead.
I was just re-commenting. It's not men only anymore.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what this is? It's got a bunch of nails, rusty nails, sticking out of it.
That is sad. I have no clue. Anybody have a clue? Looks like they once had
city's right away.
It's like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah,
There's a ring with similar spikes on the other side of the fence.
Somebody from the city must know it's in the city's right away.
It's probably for the form for the concrete, and then they, excuse me, from the form couldn't get the screws out because they were in the concrete.
Crazy.
And Melissa,
Yeah?
when we get to City Hall, I want you to be in charge of the door at the stay and just make sure everybody gets in, but then it closes.
Yeah, yeah. Is it gonna lock behind everyone? Is that
Yeah.
one? Yeah, okay.
We don't have any facilities people there. So
Yeah.
I'm in charge of not.
Jesse, here's another one.
That's a rolled ankle waiting to happen.
Somebody could get quite rich doing that.
Well, one important thing that I recommend that cities do is certainly in popular areas to walk is to have staff go out and inventory street by street, block by block, and discover the things that some maintenance work order didn't say that you had to remove it. So it's there, right? But my suspicion is it's been here for a long time. Now I want to talk about accessibility and getting older.
If you guys can't hear, there's more room up in front of Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to talk about the importance of accessibility and getting older. I'm about to turn 80, and in the last 5 years, I would say, I've fallen 4 times, and always out in a public road or sidewalk. And here are the things about getting older that I think everyone here will appreciate is as you get older, your vision isn't as acute. Your side vision has narrowed. Your ability to balance is much more difficult. And every time I have fallen, it's because of a maintenance issue with the sidewalk. So I don't pick up my feet as high as I used to, but we want our elders to walk. We want people to stay healthy, and walking is one of the best prescriptions doctors know to write. So I always look at every street in terms of how accessible it is. And things that look accessible because of their grade or a maintenance condition really aren't. And in many cities I work in, I can't find a single block that's ADA accessible. And I'm serious about that. And often it's just something like bushes that should be trimmed or sidewalks that have bad seams. It could be any of a number of things, but you need to really put a focus on your ADA accomplishments, right? Okay, continue. I like their term. I know. But today, together.
Yeah, they're together. It's really awesome.
City of Eureka walk.
We're going to stop here and have Jerome talk about the center right here.
Oh, good. That's going to be your...
Yeah, I want HGA. Jerome from HGA is going to talk about what's going in over here.
Nice.
He's coming up on his bike right now.
Jerome.
So make sure everybody gets to the intersection.
Yeah, come on
Oh
in.
gosh, I almost tripped on that.
Pretty sure that's the rule.
There's more shade over on this side. Oh, sorry.
Come on in. And Jerome?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to address the town?
Yep. Yeah. So Jerome with Humboldt Transit Authority. I'm a planner with them, and I'm assuming many have heard about the Earth Center. So it's a mixed housing plus transit center. It's planned for this parking lot right here. And so I was going to talk a little bit about what the plan is. We're still talking. It's still very early planning stages with the city, so there's no commitment yet. But the initial idea is we basically take up one of these lanes as a bus-only lane, and we have bus loading, offloading all the way from 3rd down to 4th Street. So that the perception of the transit center continues on past the public alleyway here. The public alleyway would also be a multimodal area where you would have paratransit, you'd have taxi, you'd have ride share, car share. You would also have bus loading on 3rd Street, and that would be city buses as well as your Amtrak and Greyhound type buses. This side of the parking lot would be the transit center on the ground floor, so proper in terms of a lobby and waiting spaces. And then continuing down 3rd Street and on 8th Street would be more retail commercial spaces, so more of a commercial bottom floor that still have sort of retain that sense of space in place. So that's the current thinking.
What's on top?
Housing. So
How much?
I think right now what's being proposed are 2 stories. I can't remember how many units, 100 or so units, and I can't remember how many beds that equates out to. And this would be development in collaboration with Cal Poly. So the Cal
Where do the
Poly's putting
tenants
in-
park?
They're going to be mostly students from Cal Poly, and the idea is to have a shuttle from here to HSU.
Yep.
Sorry, Cal Poly Humboldt.
So they don't need a car.
Yep.
So if you're taking all the parking away, are you going to have free shuttle buses or something?
That, yes.
To Cal Poly Humboldt. So they're expected to be students.
And what's really great is one of the grants we apply for affordable housing is called the ASIC grant, and with it you have to apply for all these bike ped improvements. So hopefully with this affordable housing we're also going to get a ton of grant money to also do more buses, more shuttles, more bike lanes.
We're working on that as well. Absolutely.
That we can go to find out what the various groups here, transportation department, the waterfront. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Different communities have different ways of informing and working with the public. The town I just came from, where we were doing walking audits, Edgewater, Colorado, they have a weekly newsletter, goes out to the whole community. It's just called the Town Crier, and they really update everyone on all the things going on in their community. If you don't have that, it's the kind of tool I think really helps you advance.
Yeah, we have a Eureka, City of Eureka newsletter. I don't know if you're on it, but okay.
You can go to our website. Go to the City of Eureka's website. There's a link set up there. But I have your contact information. Okay. So we'll send it.
And then on top of that, we are working on a new, Derek, do you know about the new thing online where we can put about projects and people can post?
Wearing my logo.
It's a good element.
And this whole area will be much larger and open to pedestrians. It'll have that sort of sense of place. It'll have those edges. What's the name? It's what you call it. Right now it's Earth Center, but I think intermodal transit.
Jerome, may I make one more announcement? So Humboldt Transit Authority's monthly meetings are open to the public, and there's a report about this project on almost every agenda. It's a standing agenda item. I'm also the chair of the board. I'm happy to take feedback or concerns or questions about this project, which is a collaboration with the City of Eureka. But there's almost always an update on our board agendas, and it's a really exciting project. There's also many other elements of that grant that are going to be really innovative for Humboldt. So I'm super excited to see this come to fruition, and feel free to reach out to us along the way, and there will be other points of opportunity for feedback as the project becomes further along.
Marvelous. Yes, sir.
Thinking about how the town goes about making decisions like this, and I'm thinking about Petaluma, which used to be the chicken capital of the world, and downtown was a disaster. And now it's one of the most desirable places in the world. Somewhere they went from the old industrial to having the ability to create a common vision that they were able to put in place. And I think we're stuck somewhere else. I'm not sure we're stuck, but we're working somewhere there. Are there like best practices about how we as a community advance these issues, or is it just this?
No. It's one step at a time, but it is setting some goals for yourself, putting together the strategies, where you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, and then measure yourself that you're achieving that, and so on. I will say the most walkable communities in America are well organized. They have good networking among all their staff. They have a really great working relationship with their public. They have specialists that are top notch in public engagement, and they use the right process to advance themselves. They still get NIMBYs, not in my backyard, folks, but they have so many people who are leaders that understand the importance of the topic or an issue that they're able to still keep advancing. So, a good question.
So, HTA plus Cal Poly, how much do we have to put in?
This 3rd Street is the end of the coastal zone. So this is downtown zoning, so it could be 100 feet tall, but they're only proposing 2 or 3 stories.
3 total, two house, ground floor plus 2 housing, and that's the only restriction there is in terms of how much we currently have to work with.
It's such a great spot for housing. It is nice to have a good amount of it here.
Beanies with reflective material and the gaming world to tell people that experiencing homeless around the area. Some of them are just like, they're more visible if they wanted them.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, so over the last years, oh my gosh. I bet it was hard to get anything done.
Okay. I think they have to turn first. Oh.
No way. Weird.
At the last intersection, we got honked at, and then this Tesla flew by at like 50 miles an hour, I swear. Are we going up there?
We'll turn here, but let's kind of gather here for a second.
That was my other idea.
It continues to be a problem.
Yeah.
Do you need to get through? Everyone but Mayor Kim. I gotta get
the start of the transition zone, dropping from 3 lanes down to 2 lanes. on the H&I corridor. So at this point, once you get north of 5th Street, will be narrowed down to dropping down to 2 lanes of vehicular traffic, and then a buffered bike lane all the way down to Harris.
What's the width of the lane?
Which lane? Bike lane?
9?
4 feet. I believe there's still 11.
We're starting construction this summer.
That's exciting. And construction you'll see is mostly going to be concrete work, maybe some paving work as we get closer to the fall on I Street, but getting our contractor on board was late, and then getting the concrete work going is a lot of concrete work, so it's a big effort on them to get the concrete work ahead of coming in and doing the paving and striping that will delineate all the travel lanes from the bike lanes. So it's going to start transitioning here, and then once you're on the other side of 5th Street, that's where it should be narrowed down to 2 lanes of travel.
So this block will be
a merge lane, yes. Transition started. That's where it'll fully start there. Bike lane and 2 lanes.
Hey Jesse, just out of curiosity, why didn't it start on 4th? Why the transition here? Do you know?
Yeah, just with the highway traffic.
Okay.
And the turn units there.
Gotcha.
Like we said, starting on down to the waterfront, we're going to try to apply some of those similar, we're going to have maybe a single lane of traffic, bike lane, diagonal parking, those sorts of things. But we do have a zone here that there's more challenges because you're between the highway. Harris.
And you're doing the same thing on I Street?
Correct. Yes.
Question back here.
Sorry if you already said this, but can you tell me what the layout will be? Is it like traffic, bike, traffic, or what? How's it gonna look?
Travel lane, or vehicular travel lane, and then buffered bike lane, and there'll be parking on. There'll also go parking, travel lane, buffered bike lane, parking.
So the park you drive across.
Hey, let's go eat.
Yeah, it's perfect.